I'd like to go over the few basics of using the Fuji X-T10. So first things first, we'll take a look at is turning this camera on. So the power is around the shutter right here. If I just click this over to the on position, my LCD screen will light up and I'll be able to see what's through the viewfinder. Let's review a few of the dials up here. First thing first, this is our shutter dial, which we'll take a look at in a little bit. On the outside of that shutter dial, there's this little switch right here, and you can see there's a little single dot and then down to auto. If I switch that to auto, the camera is going to take care of absolutely everything. We have no creative control over it, so we want to try to avoid that. So let's just put that back here. The shutter speed is for doing the exposure, which we'll take a look at in the next video. I also wanted to point out over here, this is the exposure compensation dial. So you can see it says -123, +123. And once you set your exposure, you could use this to either underexpose or overexpose. The big point is you really want to make sure this is set to 0 almost always. You could easily have this set to 2, and then all of your images will be overexposed. Over here, this is a different. This is a dial with controls a lot of things. We want it to be on S, which is single shot. That means every time we press the shutter down, it's going to fire a single image. So let's take a quick look at the lens. There are 3 rings on this lens. The first one is the exposure, which we'll take a look at in the next video. This middle ring right here is for the zoom, and you could actually see as we pull this, these numbers go here. So we can zoom all the way in, change our focal length so it's telephoto, or all the way out. And this guy right here is for focus. So let's talk a little bit about focus. On the front here, there's this little dial right here. It says MCS. M is for manual focus, C is for continuous focus, and S is for single focus. If you're just going to go out and you want to take some images, I would suggest putting this on single focus. You don't have to worry about it. The camera will try to keep whatever is your subject in focus. Continuous would be something for like sports where your subject is moving. And manual is for obviously when you would want to control the focus manually, which you might want to do. And you just switch that over to M and use the focus ring. So let's take a look at that. Ideally, again, I don't want to say ideally, you'll usually be using single focus. Let's take a look at manual to have a little bit more control. And for this, we're going to need a subject. So Dumbbell Dan is standing in for us. So in order to do focus, again, there's a focused aid actually. So first thing, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and you can see right now I'm not in focus. If I had this on single focus, when I would press the shutter halfway down, it would focus, but we're not, so we have to do this manually. I'm going to grab that outer ring, and I'm just going to start to rack this until I see what I think is pretty good focus. Here's the thing, unfortunately, this LCD screen is not kind of enough to tell us if this is really sharply in focus, so there's a focus aid. On most of these cameras, if you press, see this dial right up here, this is the rear control dial. If I press that in, it's going to zoom in, and it's going to allow us to get much sharper focus. And then when I press the shutter halfway down, it hops back out, and now I can take that picture. If your camera, if we press this command dial in and it does not zoom in like that for that manual focus assist, you can press the menu button and then go over to number 4 down here and over to MF assist, and you can turn that on there. The last thing we need to take a look at is reviewing our images. So across the top here, there is a playback button and a trash can button. If I press that playback button, it's going to bring up our last image. I could use the D-pad here to cycle through the images. And I could use my command dial, my rear command dial. If I zoom that in, I could zoom in using that and move around to check my focus, make sure it's just what I want. If I don't like that image, I could just hit the trash can button up here. It's going to say, do you want to erase just this frame or selected frames or all frames? And just choose which is your option and hit the OK button in the middle of the D-pad. It's going to say, are you sure? Hit OK again, and it's gone. To get back to the camera, you just press the shutter halfway down, and that should take care of it.